Chapter 2. Spencer and Kate raced through the outskirts of Bearhaven after Aldo, who had picked up speed. When the larger bear started up a hill, Spencer looked beyond him to the hilltop where a row of figures stood, shadowed by trees, overlooking Bearhaven's hidden valley. He started to run faster. "There you are, Spence!" a voice called from the tree line. It was Spencer's Uncle Mark, the only other human in Bearhaven right now. Spencer and Kate reached the top of the hill a good minute after Aldo. Uh-oh. They were late. Everyone else was already here. Kate bounded over to her parents, Professor Weaver and Bunny Weaver, who were standing with the rest of the Bear Council. BD, the head of the Bear Guard and the largest, strongest bear in Bearhaven, shot Spencer a reprimanding look. Just like Aldo, BD wore the guard's silver cuffs on his two front legs. "I would have thought you'd be here at the crack of dawn," Uncle Mark commented, waving Spencer over. "You've been waiting for this day since your parents went missing." "Sorry, I was just doing some last-minute training." Spencer went to stand with the other operatives. There was Uncle Mark, who looked as cool and collected as ever in a leather jacket and black jeans. Aldo, who was trying hard to hide his eagerness to set off on a new rescue mission. And BD, who rose up onto his massive hind legs, taking charge.
"All right, that's everyone,"
BD announced, looking down the row of bears and humans who had gathered for the mission send-off. Spencer followed BD's gaze. The 8 other bear members of the council stood to one side of BD. They were the bears who made the most important decisions for Bearhaven. BD was on the council, and so were Uncle Mark, Mom, and Dad, because they had helped to create Bearhaven. Just thinking about how Mom and Dad had been part of the team that built this secret safe haven for bears still made Spencer swell with pride. He had only learned about Bearhaven's existence 3 weeks ago, when his parents first disappeared. And since then, Spencer had discovered that Mom and Dad had rescued almost all the bears who lived here. BD continued.
"Today, Mark, Aldo, Spencer, and I will be departing on a mission of the utmost importance to the Bearhaven community. In our absence, the remaining members of Bearhaven's council will oversee the continuing preparations."
Spencer saw BD hesitate, and goosebumps rose on his arms. BD never hesitated. The bear looked away from the council and down into the valley of Bearhaven. Spencer followed his gaze. In the distance, Spencer spotted the glint of the special metal that encased the dome-shaped lab. A wide river curled around the outskirts of the valley, and a path led from the dock beside the river into Bearhaven's center. It passed the schoolhouse and the Bear Guard's training grounds before reaching the middle of the valley, where a tall flagpole stood. Bears following their daily routines moved along the paths that arched around rows of moss-covered homes. They looked so safe in the morning sun. Spencer guessed BD had stopped short of talking about the continuing preparations, because he didn't want to scare Kate by mentioning the danger facing Bearhaven now, and what it was exactly that Bearhaven was continuing to prepare for. Professor Weaver spoke up.
"Everything here will continue as planned,"
he said, signaling to BD and the rest of the group that BD's message, "Get ready to protect Bearhaven," had been understood.
"Speaking of preparations,"
Chef Raymond reached out a claw and tapped a box on the ground beside him, startling Kate, who had been sniffing curiously at its edges.
"BD, there's a fresh batch of homemade Raymond's fuel bars in here for the mission." "Thank you."
BD nodded at Raymond, finally taking his eyes off the flagpole at the center of Bearhaven, where 2 flags snapped back and forth in the wind.
"Well,"
said Grandmama Grisabelle, the oldest bear on the council,
"nobody's going to get rescued if we all just stand here chit-chatting,"
she said frankly.
"Good luck, gentlemen."
She looked from Spencer to Uncle Mark to Aldo and back to BD.
I hope